Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the August meeting of the Lower Makefield Township Patterson Farm Master Plan Implementation Committee. My name is Dennis Steadman. I'm the chair of the committee, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. And an important point of order, of course, is that this is a committee of 6 members. We need 4 to establish a quorum. We have 3 committee members here tonight, including
Jenifer Stark.
Fred Childs.
Thank you. There's a possibility that a 4th member will join us via Zoom, so we're going to move forward with the committee. We can share some updates and some information for the record, but we will not be voting on any resolutions or taking any formal actions tonight. The first item on the agenda is the review and approval of the July 11th meeting minutes. Since we don't have a quorum, we cannot approve those minutes. Are there any comments from the members that are here regarding those minutes?
No.
No, I don't either. So Fred drafted them, so I'm sure he doesn't. So we'll take that up at our September meeting. I'm going to skip the 3rd agenda item, which is a National Registry submission update. Joe Camaratta, the chair of our Historical Commission, may be joining us shortly, and that is his item, so we'll postpone that. Going on to the subcommittee report from the Building Protections and Enhancement Committee. Fred, do you have any update from that committee work?
The only thing recent, I understand that you noted that some of the cleanup around the buildings, most of the buildings, has been started by the township, and that is ongoing. I did attend a meeting that the township had with the Bucks County Redevelopment Authority on July 29th, and also with their consultant, and they have, I don't know if you wanted to mention that now or go right
Sure.
into
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Go right ahead.
So with their subconsultant, also the Redevelopment Authority indicated that they have a grant through the EPA for a Phase 1 environmental assessment of the entire property, and that will also include asbestos inspection and lead-based paint inspection and an inventory of any hazardous building materials that may be in or around the buildings. That would include also the entire property, which includes the farmed, the agricultural area as well. And they intend to schedule site visits there to do that investigation in approximately 2 weeks, they said, at the end of July. So it may be ongoing. I don't have any update beyond that. And then it would take approximately 6 weeks for them to do their final report and provide that to the township, at which point they would have another meeting to discuss the findings. And we expect that will provide sufficient information to guide us in terms of what priorities we may have for the buildings and what we might be able to start in right away before any environmental mitigation or addressing any environmental issues is started. So.
Okay, thank you. And to put that into just a little bit of context, it is known that there is lead paint infiltration in the soil around the perimeters of the building due to lead paint being used historically on those buildings. We also know there's a buried diesel fuel tank on the property. And this environmental assessment is a necessary first step. It's it has held up some other initiatives because we need to get our arms around that first. The township was very successful in gaining this grant from the Bucks County Redevelopment Authority that is paying for this assessment, which is it can be an expensive undertaking. So it has cost the township nothing, thanks to the Bucks County Redevelopment Authority. And it's my understanding that after the Phase 1 is done, the Bucks County Redevelopment Authority is also in a position to potentially provide funding for a Phase 2 study, should a Phase 2 study be needed once the results of Phase 1 is completed. So in context, this is an important first step. Any other comments?
No, perfect.
Okay. From the Subcommittee on Nonprofit and Funding, let me give a brief report on that. The subcommittee has continued to interview other nonprofits and have fortunately tapped into a very productive resource called PANO, the Pennsylvania Association of Nonprofit Organizations. They have a lot of resources available to help new nonprofits, small nonprofits, and large nonprofits manage their affairs, and they're a wealth of information. We have learned through them and their contacts, we have a path as to what would be required in forming a new nonprofit should this committee recommend that to the Board of Supervisors, and it is not ready to make that recommendation yet, but our leaning and our thinking is that may well be an outcome and a recommendation. Forming a new nonprofit, the filing would be done with the state of Pennsylvania. That takes a matter of a couple weeks. And then there's a filing with the IRS at the federal level. That review can take up to 6 months, but when that review is over, it is the date the nonprofit is effective back to the date of application. So it is the counsel and advice of the experts in the field that if everything is in order with the state and is a quality application with the IRS, the organization could begin to function and potentially solicit funds, et cetera, prior to that final IRS approval, because the date would, if approved, would go back to the filing date. The cost of that filing and those forms and submissions at both the state and federal level would total approximately $2,600. So when and if we get to a point of making the recommendation to the Board of Supervisors that a separate nonprofit should be formed on this for the behalf of Patterson Farm and the Thomas Janney Homestead, then that would be the steps involved. We envision, given the expense associated with the renovation and improvement and restoration of this property, that we will be launching a capital campaign funding, trying to identify funding sources should a nonprofit, either an existing nonprofit be utilized or a new nonprofit. There will need to be funding from the community. We have very good feedback from the community in terms of willingness to support, and have won some assurances from certain public sources, excuse me, private sources, I should say, in our community, that they would be willing to support such an undertaking. So indications are favorable. So that's the update from the nonprofit and funding subcommittee. I think by next month, by September, this committee will be ready to make a formal recommendation to the Board of Supervisors on this topic. Any discussion on that?
No.
At this point in time, I don't think Joe Camaratta is going to be able to make the meeting. What I can say, based on my communications with him earlier over the last couple weeks, the National Registry submission is still on track to go in on by the end of the year. They are doing an excellent job. The information is coming together. Joe is quite pleased. Out of historical accuracy for this submission, they have determined the appropriate name for the property. That name that the submission will go in under will be the Thomas Janney Homestead Historical Agricultural District. That kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Not exactly a short handle, but we will be working to incorporate that formal name, which would be on certain signage, et cetera, in with the familiar colloquial name of Patterson Farm for our community. So I'm sure that that can all be managed without a problem. So let's. Any questions on the National Registry subject? Hearing none. Is there any other business from
No, I don't have any other business.
Fred?
No, nothing.
Oh, and I failed to mention, Fred, thank you. I see you're taking notes. That is greatly appreciated. You did that last month as well. Thank you. If I could ask our support staff, is there any public comment or public phone calls? No one online. Okay. Well, it's not a formal meeting, but simply an informational one. I would make a soft motion to close.
I'll second the motion.
So moved.
I think it's so moved. Well done. Thank you both.